there is a serious story we can talk about here. Jeff, getting into the cheaper feed that maybe is helping farmers. But the overall numbers really are startling on food prices. The U.S. is now on track to post the longest stretch of falling food prices this year in more than half a century, more than 50 years. We have supermarketguru.com editor Phil Lempert with us on this story, which kind of, Phil, in a weird way, reminds me of the oil story we do a lot. That, hey, listen, we have lower oil prices when we do, and we say that's great for consumers, but it's not so great for oil companies. Same thing, I guess, applies overall to food, right?
Absolutely, Connell. And also keep in mind what nobody's talking about is we've just come through about 5 years of the highest food prices ever. We saw beef at the highest price. We saw pork, eggs, because of bird flu, practically doubled. So yes, the good news is that the prices are coming down now, but we really need to compare it to what the prices were 10 years ago, and they're still higher.
Fair enough. Perspective is always important. Now, the reason being given, from what I read, for the overall for these declines is you have an excess of supply, in particular for dairy products, and then you have lower demand in China. And the reason I read about was largely because of the strong dollar. So you put all of that together, and now we have lower prices. Again, good for consumers. The question for you is, as you did rightly put it in perspective, do you think it continues this way?
Well, nobody knows, and I'll tell you why nobody knows. It's all about the weather conditions. And even though we're seeing lower prices for certain commodities, if you look at produce, and 40% of produce that's sold in this country comes from California, produce is up about 1.5%. And because of the California drought, it's going to expect to go even higher. So weather conditions have a huge impact. The other thing that we're seeing are people changing their eating habits, moving away from more beef, for example. And now a lot of new proteins, whether it's pea protein, cricket flour, Beyond Meat, those kind of products are taking up the slack. And the same reason that we saw beef prices as high as they were is, frankly, the ranchers culled their herds. They had less cows. And when that happens, the price goes up and those ranchers make more money. Who knows whether or not they'll do the same thing this time around.
If it continues. Phil, interesting. Thank you very much. Phil Lempert with us, supermarketguru.com.